I'm here with Ed Croom, and we're going to be talking about The Land of Rowan Oak, a photography book that Ed has put together over years of visiting William Faulkner's home place, Rowan Oak, in Oxford, Mississippi. Thanks for being in Jackson, Ed.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Now, you've done some things already with the book. You were at the Loren Rogers Museum in the staircase exhibit, right?
That's correct.
That was a beautiful evening. How did all that transpire?
Well, once that we started working on the book 3 years ago, then Michael and Ella and Jeff Coate heard my lecture about Rowan Oak at the University Museum.
Okay.
And they said, we want to work on this book, and when the book is done, we want to have an exhibit at the Loren Rogers Museum.
And
that
so
was
that
3 years
evening
ago. So that evening, that's
was
when
the
it really started.
fruition.
Was the fruition.
Now, let's open up the book a little bit together, and it won't come out perfectly on film, but really, this has a surprise to it in that the Land of Rowan Oak, you might think, oh, it's just going to be the home and the improvements and etc. These are the gorgeous plants that live all around Rowan Oak. So now, what was your background before coming to photography?
So I'm actually a botanist, and
Okay.
I documented plants in the American South and the uses of the plants by people. And so it was a lot of photography in a more technical aspect of plant identification or how they're processed to make medicines. So that's where this book was different. I moved in 2003 near Rowan Oak, and kind of went there to show you the plants and the landscape and how it felt, more than a technical guide. It's not like a field guide.
In other words, it doesn't say this magnolia is over here on the northeast corner of the property, please visit it. It shows you the beautiful magnolia.
It shows you that, but actually the notes do tell you where it is.
Hey, okay.
And there's a map in the back.
And a map in the back. I did.
But
see
that's
the
right.
gardenia on the back.
No, that's right. Sorry, not the back cover, but toward the back of the book.
Okay.
You're going to see that there are 15 pages of notes.
Look at the beautiful map.
So for every photograph, after you've enjoyed it, you can say, well, where is that? And it'll say in this part or this part. And it'll tell you in a general part of the garden where to go. The same thing for the view. You may look and you have a photograph, and here it says, you know, the paddock and buildings at sunset. Well, here's the paddock. And sure enough, you can see then the buildings.
Well, that's going to be so handy, because there's some people who don't know what a paddock is.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
great, or how to find it. This is good. Now, you began to walk around the grounds at Rowan Oak really for just exercise and meditative.
It was my morning walk at daybreak. That's right.
Okay.
And it was like a meditation for me. The first few years, I was still traveling a lot all over the country and in other countries.
Yes.
And then so the days I was there, I would go out at daybreak. I'm generally the only person there at daybreak.
Okay,
And I'm only a few blocks away, so it's very easy to get there. And I would start my day there by spending an hour or longer sometimes just walking, taking pictures, as you said, just to kind of find a calm and beautiful place. You're just around the plants. And then I may take off another day and fly to Washington to be in commercial and regulatory meetings and all those human dramas.
One would need some constitutionals and meditation after that. Now, some of these photos, because in part of morning light, but also because of the ways in which you operate as a photographer, really have such a depth to them, and so much of the landscape around there comes into an almost, I told Michael Jeffcoat this at the Loren Rogers, some of these photos look like a photograph of the way that Faulkner's mind might have worked, and that they're just whirling and filled with light and moisture and things are in the air. How long did it take you photographing Rowan Oak until you started to reach those epiphanies?
Well, that's a good question I never thought about. But let me just say that I photographed for 10 years until I felt like I captured, the way I would put it, some of the mystery of the place.
Okay.
And the beauty of the place. And to show you that it was a sanctuary. And you're right, I feel like it was like a muse to him. It was a place where he could sense the historical part of that land and those plants. And he knew them. And the way we would have fog and snow and ice and all that, and you could see history, as he talks about, it was still alive today, even where he lived.
Now that brings me to another question. Something very important and dear to you is that the ecosphere there, the biosphere there, and the biota are disappearing. There are things like the naked ladies, the red spider lilies, that are being destroyed out of just a kind of carelessness. How much of this book and these photographs represented to you a stab at preservation, or not a stab at, but an attempt at preservation, and a hope that others would start to listen?
The way it really happened is I went to capture the beauty and the mystery in the sanctuary, and then because I've photographed now for 13 years, what I started noticing is things were dying off. The muscadine grape arbor is no longer there. There are other plants there. The Byzantine gladiolus that's in there is no longer there. The peach tree is no longer there. The red spider lilies this year, I just noticed, are no longer there.
And those are hard to kill.
And those are hard to kill. and so, but the reason I'm taking this phrase to say, first you have to love a place like that. You just say, well, then how do I take care of it? And so it does need better care, like the historic garden and the place where Faulkner's genius really was preserved in that land. It's still there. It can be a sanctuary for you today, too. That's what I found by going there, especially early in the day when there's rarely anyone there early. And that I think the preservation just evolved out of it. I didn't expect it at first.
Okay.
And therefore now I'm seeing that we have to treat the land with the same honor and respect that we do the house and the internal things that most people see. Because there are things that even were gone before I photographed the book. I know historical research that Estelle had a cutting garden over behind that brick wall.
Okay.
And she had peonies and Lady Banksia roses and multiple other roses that have not been there even in the 13 years I've been photographing, but historically were there. So we're going to have to look as real preservationists to say, okay, plants grow, trees get shady, which of that stays, which goes, what do we restore as well as preserve there? To have, I think it matters to have the original plant lines, just like the gardenia that you're talking about on the back. That to me could have been a magnolia, it could have been a gardenia, it could have been a lotus. I mean, it's just beautiful white flower to take you into a sweet place in your own life, and that we want to propagate those where I think it matters, whether it was passed along plants from your family, your friends, or from Faulkner's Rowan Oak. You want a piece of that, not just a gardenia. And that we can also do in the future.
And now happily people can take this book home after their visit with Rowan Oak, and that kind of a spiritual and natural connection with it. They don't have to pluck a gardenia or do any damage.
No. And that's right. And one day they could, I'm just saying, do that, just like they do at the Eudora Welty Garden. They propagate their plants, and she has a great camellia collection there. The other thing I think I'd like to add that just happened because of doing the book is I found that people keep coming up to me with, like you said, either finding the book adds a certain calmness to their life of the photographs, and the other thing is how many people, we must forget, it's been over 50 years since William Faulkner died. So a lot of people have been there, and therefore they have their own personal memory. People come up to me all the time and say, I walked that trail when I had something in my mind, and I came out on those grounds, and I found that I was able to resolve something in my mind, and feel more peaceful. So there are many people with personal memories I had one person come to a book signing and says, "We secretly got married under this tree."
Oh, how wonderful. How wonderful.
And so there are many memories that people have of their own life there, of some meaning of Rowan Oak to them that shows that there are many layers of Rowan Oak for people very personally.
Good. Well, we've been talking with Ed Croom, and he is the creator of this magnificent book, The Land of Rowan Oak, and he'll be all around Mississippi this year to promote it. Ed, thanks so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you for taking this book to where it really needed to be to show the beauty of the place.
All right, great.